No one ever thinks of a map as a battlefield. But the lines that carve up a country are not as innocent as they seem. They hold the echoes of rivalries, ambitions, politics, and grudges that stretch back through generations. And among the quiet plains of the American Midwest, where the wind rustles through wheat fields and the horizon seems endless, lies one of the most curious divisions in U.S. history: North Dakota, South Dakota, two separate states, each with its own identity, its own pride, its own capital, and yet both were once part of a single Dakota Territory. Why did they split? Why did one territory become two states? The answer isn't just in dusty government documents or forgotten speeches. It's in the power plays, the railroads, the bitter rivalries, and a desire to control something greater than geography destiny. To understand why Dakota was torn in two, we have to go way back before there even was a Dakota Territory, before there were towns, cities, or even borders. This land, these rolling plains and rich river valleys, was once home to Native American tribes like the Sioux, Mandan, Arikara, and Dakota. For them, the land was not something to be divided, but something to be lived in harmony with. But in the 19th century, everything began to change. The United States, burning with the fire of manifest destiny, was pushing westward. And as railroads stretched across the continent and settlers poured in, the U.S. government saw opportunity and control. The Dakota Territory was officially created in 1861, encompassing not only today's North and South Dakota, but also parts of what are now Montana and Wyoming. It was vast, wild, and largely undeveloped in the eyes of Washington. The federal government encouraged settlement, and soon people began pouring in. Farmers seeking fertile land, immigrants from Germany, Norway, and other parts of Europe chasing dreams, and railroad companies looking to carve their tracks across the heart of the continent. But here's where things start to get complicated. Even in its early years, the Dakota Territory was not one unified body. It was already beginning to fracture, not physically, but politically and culturally. The North and the South were developing along very different lines. In the North, cities like Bismarck and Grand Forks were emerging around trade, railroads, and military forts. In the South, Sioux Falls and Yankton were becoming strong agricultural centers. The settlers in each region had different priorities, different needs, and even different visions for what their future should look like. The capital of the Dakota Territory was first located in Yankton, in the southern region. For many years, the political and economic power of the territory flowed from there. But the people in the North were not happy about that. They felt neglected. They felt overlooked. They believed that the Southern politicians were making decisions that didn't represent their interests. And in a territory as vast as Dakota, that resentment began to grow like a storm brewing over the prairie. Then came the railroads. The Northern Pacific Railway played a major role in shaping the destiny of the northern region. In 1883, the capital of Dakota Territory was moved from Yankton to Bismarck, a move that was seen as a slap in the face to the Southern leaders. It wasn't just about politics, it was about pride, power, and the future. Now the North had the capital, and with it, a sense of validation. But the move deepened the divide between the two regions, setting the stage for what would soon become an irreversible split. As the 1880s rolled on, the population in the territory surged. By 1889, there were enough people to justify statehood. But the question became, should Dakota be admitted as one state or two? On the surface, it might have made more sense to create one large state. It would have been geographically massive, but potentially powerful. Still, political tensions, cultural differences, and long-standing grudges made unity nearly impossible. The people in the North didn't trust the South. The people in the South felt betrayed by the North. and both sides wanted their own seat at the table in Washington. Here's where things get even more political. The United States was in a delicate balance between Democrats and Republicans. At the time, the Republican Party dominated the Northern Plains, including the Dakota Territory. Southern Democrats feared that adding a single large Dakota state would further empower Republicans in the Senate. So, many Democrats actually supported splitting the territory in two, figuring that perhaps one of the Dakotas could be influenced or even flipped. Ironically, the Republicans also supported the split because it would mean two reliably Republican states instead of one. Both parties, for very different reasons, saw the split as a political win. So, the stage was set. The Enabling Act of 1889 was passed by Congress, allowing the Dakota Territory to become two separate states, North Dakota and South Dakota. But the drama didn't end there. On the 2nd of November, 1889, President Benjamin Harrison signed the proclamations admitting both North and South Dakota to the Union. But in a final twist of historical theater, Harrison shuffled the papers before signing so that no one would ever know which Dakota was admitted first. To this day, no one can say for sure whether North Dakota or South Dakota entered the Union first. They were born twins, but rivals from the start. From that moment on, the two Dakotas began walking their own paths. North Dakota, with its vast plains and northern location, became a state defined by agriculture and oil, while South Dakota leaned into tourism, its natural beauty, and historic landmarks like Mount Rushmore. Each state built its own identity, its own legacy, and though they share a border and a name, the invisible line that divides them is filled with history, competition, and a lingering sense of what if. Yet the rivalry has always been more about pride than animosity. North Dakota and South Dakota compete in sports, in tourism slogans, in economic growth. But there's also a deep, unspoken respect between them. Like siblings who have taken different paths in life, they remain connected by roots that run deeper than soil. Over the decades, there have been occasional voices that suggested reuniting the Dakotas into one state only for efficiency, but those voices are drowned out by identity. People in Bismarck and Fargo see themselves as North Dakotans. People in Sioux Falls and Rapid City fly the flag of South Dakota with pride. They may have once been one, but now they are something different, something unique, something whole. The story of the Dakota split is more than just a tale of maps and laws. It's a story of how geography becomes destiny, of how politics can shape borders, and how people fight to be seen, to be heard, and to have a place in the national story. It's a reminder that even the most peaceful-looking lines on a map are drawn with passion, with struggle, and with purpose. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes America what it is: not a perfect union, but a collection of bold experiments, diverse voices, and ever-changing states of identity. North Dakota and South Dakota are more than just names. They are symbols of ambition, of independence, and of the enduring complexity of building a nation. As the winds continue to sweep across the Great Plains, brushing over old railroad tracks and quiet homesteads, they whisper a story that few know in full. A story of one land, two dreams, and the invisible line that turned Dakota into a tale of two states.